Hey, welcome back. Last week we talked about poetry and how it is slamming. This week we are going to talk propaganda and its use by the government, also its ability to be used as an art form when in the hands of the citizens.
From the beginning of time, there have been paintings and recreations of great battle scenes, from the caveman stick figures to Baroque images of Napoleon. For some reason, people have had an obsession with remembering wartime.
Yeah, usually they want to remember it if they're winning, or at least want people to think they're winning. Napoleon was 5'2", but his most famous paintings are large, making him seem much bigger.
For a time, there was a trend of royals sending painters to battlefields to sketch wars, and the King of Spain was no different. My aha moment was at the Brooklyn Museum when we saw the exhibit for Francisco Olier paintings. My favorite was the battle at the Trevino. Not only because of its impressionistic qualities, but also because it made me think about all the multiple perspectives one could view this painting.
So, if you were a Spaniard, you would be very proud of the painting. Specifically, if you were the general of that war or the battle, you would want it hanging above your bed.
But if you were on the losing team, you would hate this.
Also, if you were the king and you wanted to show that your country was the best to both foreigners and citizens, you would want this painting to get everywhere. That in itself is a form of propaganda. The king wants to be seen in a light that may not always be true to reality.
But propaganda is pretty old. Moving into the 20th century and the advent of moving pictures and television, information was spreading much faster.
Because of technology, everyone was vulnerable to government-made propaganda, even the kids.
Here we have a Looney Tunes cartoon called Ductators. It opens up on a farm and tells the story of how a little duck Hitler came to power.
It is basically the beginnings of World War II in animated form with cute cartoon violence. But by making the video so cute, kids start to forget what they are actually watching.
The little ducks are defeated by a little guy, a dove wearing an olive branch crown, an obvious metaphor for democracy and peace. It ends with a command to buy US bonds. The best way to sell something is to first market it to kids, then hope they nag their parents into buying it.
But let's not forget, at that time, parents watched TV with their kids, so nagging wasn't always necessary.
More adult forms of propaganda were made, and they worked just as well.
This one even tells people to do the same thing as the cartoon, but it makes it seem as if when people don't buy bonds, something bad will happen, like the world will come to an end. Designers also used pop culture references. Of course, if I don't enlist, Germany is going to turn into a King Kong-esque creature and kidnap Lady France and then come for American ladies. Pretty soon, citizens got tired of all the fighting. The Vietnam War was lasting too long.
College students started holding rallies and protests. They were producing their own political images, and because of the counterculture revolution, the images were more sexually explicit and seemingly disrespectful.
My question is it still propaganda if the citizens are making it?
Propaganda has been best known as information based on biased or misleading nature used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Under this evolved definition, almost everything is a form of propaganda, including commercials, campaigns, speeches, and cartoons, because they all have some sort of agenda behind their content, for you to buy that new sports car or put a vote on a certain candidate.
So even superheroes can be propaganda.
Yeah, I think Captain America fought off a communist skull at some point.
But they can also be social propaganda, not just political.
Like the X-Men?
Yeah, the X-Men were metaphors for all that was wrong in the world. Discrimination towards people because of disabilities, racism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, and AIDS discrimination. Almost any minority leader and social issue can be written into the comics. It's propaganda to get everyone to be treated fairly, and in that context, propaganda loses its negative connotation.
It's as if the Black Panthers, Women's Liberators, and the American Farm Laborers Union got together and made a movie.
Which reminds me of my aha moment. It happened in El Barrio at the Palente exhibit. Propaganda stopped being something that was only for wartime and politics. People, especially minorities, started to care about what was happening to them in their own backyards.
The Young Lords were an organization that fought for Puerto Rican rights in the United States, mainly during the late 1960s and the 1970s.
They used protests, marches, and speeches to get their points across. And just as importantly, they used propaganda.
The Young Lords used many posters such as this one to illustrate what they stood for and sought from the government. The poster outlines the demand and aid for hard work and struggle of the people.
The unthreatening magenta-purple color of the AK-47s showed the Young Lords' reluctance to actually use guns and violence. Currently, the Young Lords don't produce much propaganda, and it's no longer the 40s, but that doesn't mean propaganda isn't around anymore.
Then there are all the Blank Lives Matter campaigns. From all of this, we learned that anyone can be involved in propaganda, any age, any time period.
So if you're bored, you can make your own propaganda. Be like a young lord or the King of Spain.
That's all the time we have, folks. Thanks for joining us again. Come back next week for a talk on conspiracy theories and that strange light in the night sky.
So then, say peace out, everybody.
Peace out, everybody!